So today's topic is cell, the fundamental unit of life. If I ask what can you see in the picture, that is two buildings, a tower and a building. These are two structures. Now what would be the basic building block of these structures? There would be walls that would be made that would come together and then the whole building would be formed. But what would be the basic building block of those walls? It would be a brick. The same way our body is also made up of few building blocks which are also known as cells. These all cells, they are specialized for specific purpose in different organisms depending on in which organs they are present. Like for example, we can have osteocytes in the bone, we have neurons in the nervous system. The same way there would be immune cells for the immune system. In this way, depending on the organs, the functions that they have to carry, the organism in which they are present, these cells would be, there would be many kinds of cells specialized for a specific purpose to carry out a specific function. So all the organisms that are present on the earth, they all are made up of cells, whether whatever size they have, whatever shape they have, different color, different structures. But the one thing in common that is there in all of them, plants, animals, microorganisms, birds, everything, that they are all made up of cells. If we have to observe, take an example of a plant, then if I take the onion, the peels of the onion, and we scrape the onions and we observe it under a microscope, what we can see is there would be some similar looking structures which would be placed besides each other. These similar looking structures are the basic building blocks of the onion, and they are the cells. When these cells would come together, they would make up a big onion, irrespective of whether it would form a big one or a small one, whichever source you take up. But you're taking up an onion, you will get these kind of structures in all the whichever onions you pick up. So these cells would be the basic building blocks for the whole organism. That would be the cells. Then in 1665, when nobody had any idea about cells, what our organism is made up of, at that time Robert Hooke designed his own microscope, because proper microscopes were also not there existing at that time. That was also not known till that time. So he took the bark, that is the cork, which means the bark of the tree. He observed it under the microscope. What he observed was there was a structure which looked like something like honeycomb, and they all consisted of little compartments side by side. These compartments, he named them as cells. They were all hollow spaces, hollow structures. So he named them, these compartments, as cells. Why did he name them as cells? Because in Latin the word cell means a little room. So this was given by Robert Hooke. Then there were two other biologists, that is Schleiden and Schwann. They gave their own cell theory. They said that plants and animals, they all are composed of cells. So cell is the basic unit of life. There cannot be anything smaller than or less than a cell. If any organism is having a single cell, then the organism can have its own life, because all the reactions, all the processes, all the functions can be carried out only with the help of cells. The cells will come together, only then the whole tissue or an organ or a whole organism will be made. So cell will form the basic unit of life, and plants and animals, they are all made up of cells. Then there was another scientist, that is Rudolf Virchow. He said that all the cells arise from some pre-existing cells. So if I have two new cells over here which have been formed, they have been produced from this pre-existing cell which was there. There was a cell which was existing previously, and there was some kind of a reproduction or replication or division that took place, because of which now there are two new cells. So these two new cells had some pre-existing cells. That's why we got these cells. So this was said by Rudolf Virchow. Then, depending on the number of cells, we can divide organisms into two types, that is unicellular ones or multicellular ones. Unicellular ones will consist of a single cell, but still they would be a whole organism only. Even if they are having a cell, they still are a single organism. It's an organism. Like this is an amoeba, it's a Chlamydomonas, there is paramecium. These are examples of unicellular. Single celled organisms, they are made up of one cell which will carry out the functions for their own survival and existence. But since they are just single celled, so we will classify them into a unicellular organisms. Then on the other hand, for the much more developed organisms like plants, animals, which have to carry out which have complex structures, they have to carry out so many functions, so they are made up of many cells. They would come together to form tissues and carry out different functions and to form various body parts. So for that would be present in multicellular organisms, for example animals, plants and fungi. So this was the explanation for this topic for today, cell. Thank you.